Good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, depending on where you are. I am back here as a person. I have many questions which don't have answers, but I'm believing God that by the time my candle burns out ever, I'll have the answers. Let us open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you praise, we give you glory. We give you honor. Thank you so much for your loving kindness. Thank you so much for being a friend. Thank you so much for understanding us. Thank you so much for wisdom. Thank you so much for life. I would love to give all the praises back to you. Holy Spirit, King of glory, King of mercy, I decrease and you increase. Give me the right articulation of words. My Master Jehovah God, I know one thing: when you start something, you accomplish it. You who started this journey, you will bring it to an end, because you're the Alpha and the Omega. You know my beginning and you know my end. You know the day I was supposed to be born. You know the names. You know my sex. You know everything about me. There is nothing new that surprises you about a human being, because you know it all. Father, King of glory, you knew even this time. You knew this season. You knew the past 7 years of my life, how they would be. You knew everyone I would meet on this journey of life. You knew their heart. You knew everything about them. There is nothing you do not know. But because for us, we don't see beyond our nose, we get surprised by people's reactions. But Lord, I thank you because you're good. I thank you because you're faithful. Lord, I thank you because you're awesome. Father, touch people's hearts. Lord, provide data, provide the time. Touch people's hearts, Lord. Sometimes I don't like the position I'm in, but everyone has their time and their season. Guess this is my time. And I have to add air to each and everything it comes with. Lord, I thank you. It hasn't been easy. It's not yet easy. It's not simple. But Lord, I thank you because you're good. I pray for the men and women who are supposed to be here. Touch their hearts wherever they are. This is your work, Lord. This is not my work. This is your work. Let your will be done. Let your love prevail. Not as I want, but as you want it. Lord, teach. I'm just a vessel through which you speak. Lord, I pray that I speak your heart. I speak from your heart. I pray that I speak from your heart. I give you praise, Lord. I give you glory. I give you honor. In Jesus' name I believe and pray. Amen. I'm happy to be back here and do life. Munyumba yetu sinze nyumba ye alamula ebikubo lyange nebanatambulanga oba kisikiza kawewule enyimba ezimusinza We are back here today. I want us to continue. Read a portion from here. This is the 7 prayer warriors. So I'll read something small from there, looking at a man called George Muir and his lifestyle. Everyone has their own lifestyle. I have many questions as a person. I want to tell you something. As a believer, as a Christian, as a human being, I want you to be careful. The season we are in, it's like the COVID season was like a can of worms. You know, someone opening a can like this. And the Lord is watching. The devil is on a rampage. This is a season where I have seen, there are things I knew about people, right? And they were not pronounced that much. And in this season, they've been pronounced. Like, this season is for opening cans. This season, I have seen how much we just talk about God, how much we just read the Bibles, how much we just teach people. This season has shown me how much we are not walking as Christ walked. We have actually not represented Christ. There are things I've seen people do, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, wow. Because there are things we just covered and ignored as we move. I have seen how selfish man can be. And when man is told the selfishness they come with, what man does is to ignore you and block you. Like, because now it's the era of having a WhatsApp phone and everything. So what we do is to ignore you. I want this, when it happens to you, I don't want you to get surprised. I don't want you to be shocked. And because that's what the season we are in, that's what the devil wants. So that we get annoyed and we break the circle. And when you are there is a cord of a circle, right? And when you break what the devil is looking for is to break the cord, is to break the circle, and he enters. And we don't. I have seen that when you're near your family, when you're near your friends, when you're near people who support you, you tend to neglect certain things that to you they are small, but to God they are not small. Because you have what is keeping you busy, you have everything near you, we tend to neglect how people feel. We tend to push out. Because you're near, some of you are married, you're near your husband, you're near your wife, you're near your children, you're near your job, right? You have someone you put in a circle together, you have your siblings. This season is family. Since 2020, I told you the season is family time, right? And I have seen, like, it's about your family. And the time we put in our friends, we are using them. And when we are told, when the devil notices that he's been noticed, now he brings in a particular way inside a human being. And so there are things, there are people who are doing things, and I'm left blown away. And I'm like, wow. Especially if you're a man or a woman who reads the Bible, who reads the Word of God. Like, this season has shown me how the devil has penetrated church through material things, through our character. This season, the devil decided that he goes into our foundations and bring out the real me. That is what is happening. And it's happening everywhere. It's happening to everyone. I have seen people's hearts in a way that I keep quiet, and they have not yet noticed that what they are doing is wrong. And when they notice it, they ignore, because they are too shy to say, I am sorry. And that's what the devil wants. The devil wants you who is going through it to let go and break the cord and those the other side, they are soaked into their busyness, so they will not notice. And the only time you're going to wake up is when it's too late. Time has gone. People are dead. And life goes on. And we mention things like, it was their time. That was their time. I get marveled. People, even pastors. And I'm like, wow. Ephesians chapter 2 is very interesting. You know, the word of God is very interesting. When people have their circle, when you start up, when you have a dream, right? You know, be careful when you're dreaming, and be careful when you're starting up something that will involve people. That is God's work. I want you to be careful, so that you don't look a hypocrite. I want you to be careful out there. I feel so bad about your children, because everything you're doing right now, you're doing it for your kids. The way you're treating people, the way you're ignoring people because you're told the wrong you're doing it for your kids. You see, we have tight friends, right? Right now, I don't want to lie to you. I did not know that the people I've worked with and called tight, and I would run to them when I have an issue. Right now, I cannot run there. I did not know that I can be left in the cold. Where you call someone, they don't pick. You send messages, they ignore the messages. Even if they read them, they don't answer back. And they don't have a habit of communicating. But they are serving God. And they're very convinced that they're serving God. Then the other thing I want to warn you about, be careful when you're under pressure. Be careful when you're under pressure. Be careful when you're excited. I am a girl who has worked with very many people when they're not yet married. Some don't have jobs. Some have jobs, but they are struggling. The devil makes us so vulnerable when we are nothing. And we put on, I don't know whether we just wear that fake part of the story. I do not know. I find it so challenging and disturbing, and it marvels my mind. Why is it that when we are poor, when we are nothing, when we are vulnerable, we tend to be so good? We tend to allow people to step on us, and we are so good. I have seen people change, and I'm like, wow. Before they were married, and we have this thing of, people tell us that when you're no longer single, now you're married, you're supposed to change how you behave. I'm like, you change to what? Now, there are things I don't understand. You change to what? Can we have, the challenge we're having, we don't have a school of adulting. That when you become an adult, how do you behave? The things you see while growing are the things you walk in. It's like a trend. I'm like, what is that happens to people when they get married? Before they were married, they were very humble. They were very loving. They were very helpful. Before they got that job, before they switched from one job to another, before they had that dream, before that business, what really happens to people? There are things I look at and I'm like, I have questions, and I'm like, Lord, how do we get past these? And people don't care. Like, the devil wants us to wear that card of, yeah, if they've treated you like that, Esther, you're not needed in this circle, let go and walk away. Now, the God I serve is saying otherwise. When I had just come, people told me, you can't be in away from Uganda, and you behave like you're back in Uganda, like you know everything. Now, I kept quiet. It gets complicated when my assignment is to watch over Uganda. And you don't just watch by sitting the other side. It's a very, very, sometimes I don't like my position. because it has come with a lot of pain. I've heard people say that you walk away. And in my mind, I'm like, how are you going to pray for people you've walked away from? How does that even work? Which university do they teach such things? You know, when we had lockdowns, people were home, right? People were so kind. People were so loving. People were like in a vulnerable state. When we are in a vulnerable state, we are so nice. Why? I don't know that there is someone who can answer me that. How we don't have time for people. Then when someone is dead, we wake up and we show people who don't know us how much we love the person. But this person has been there struggling. Families wake up to show the world that they love you. These are things that are not talked about, and they've been neglected, and they're destroying us. And people who are weak at heart let go of who God created in them. Because someone has done something, the devil is always looking for someone to poison. Yeah, I call that poison. There are people who have left church and they're like, you know what, I can't deal with this. People come and give testimonies that Pastor so-and-so came and visited us. We called Pastor so-and-so and they prayed for us. Then there are those, they're like, me, whenever I call the pastor, I don't get the pastor. How does it work here that her pastor visits a few people? You know, I've found out that people who are into service, they don't understand the word service. They don't understand the word service. People, for people, the devil sits in someone's heart and they become a user. I've seen that everyone loves people because of the things they do. But we don't have time for each other. I always ask, how can you milk a cow you don't take to eat? How does that work? As a shepherd, how can you want milk? How can you want mutton? How can you want the skin when you don't take the sheep to feed? When you enter the zone of leadership, your life has to change. The way you see things changes. The way you treat people changes. Now it becomes, you're supposed to be accountable. You know, you want to be something, but I found out we do not know the weight of these positions. You do not know the weight. I talk to different people, and I have people who are positive in mind and who have a liberal mind, who have an open mind. And we sit and I ask questions and I'm like, I want you to tell me, so and so started that thing. But that thing, do you know that that thing is benefiting them? When is that person physically finding out what's going on in your life? Because when Jesus was walking with the 12 disciples, he knew everything about them. Everything he knew. I've seen people struggle in church, and many people have left church not because they should leave church, but it's because the love of Christ is not in church anymore. How can you work with someone and you don't know what's going on in their lives? But when it's time to work, you look for them. You talk to people to put money in a ministry, right? Let me tell you something. I'm a PK. I don't talk about things I don't know. I'm a PK. I know what happens in a house of a man and a woman who are serving, who are leaders in church, in schools, at work. I know. Everything is on your head. You give the final answer. But these positions, let me tell you something. If God has called you into that position, you'll never defend your weaknesses. Never. You'll just become better. I'll give you an example. At the time I was in school. No, I was done with school. Now I was doing I was working. One of my siblings was in school. And all the time I would call to find out how they are. Communication is our thing, period. And all the time I would call, hi, how are you? How is school? I don't give this person space to answer back. I ask, how is school? Because now I was contributing to their tuition. How is school? What's going on? My mind was so fixed on how is school, the rest wasn't. It's not that I didn't know that it was there, but because I am paying tuition, my mind was on how is school. Now, there are many things that happen in someone's life at school, right? And it's not like a primary school, it's an institution where this person is old in age. When someone is at school, they have to eat food, right? They have to bathe. If they're coming from home, they need transportation. If they're staying there, how do they live? Their day-to-day lifestyle. How is it like? How is it like? Now, a time came and the person got tired. For us at home, we are open-minded. We will tell you the truth, and you deal with it. In 2010, 11, I think, this person, I learned a lesson. It was hard. It was hard. It was tight. It was hurting. Person told me, Esther, every time you call me, ask me about school. I understand you pay tuition. I really do understand and I appreciate. But when are you going to ask me how my day was? When are you going to ask me if I ate food? When are you going to ask me if I have clothes? When are you going to ask me the general question of how is my life? I kept quiet. I didn't have an answer. The person almost told me, I know it's about your money, but me, I'm not important. But if I was here, whom would you give the money to? Another person will answer and be like, of course, there is another person who would want the money, period, you know? The Lord was teaching me that I'm not an NGO. Because if it's an NGO, for it, it's after. It's money. They have goals. They have aims. Because when you have an NGO, you have a target to hit. And after getting your target, that's it. The rest is none of your business. So, the Lord started teaching me His love in an amazing way. I love people, trust me. But the Lord was teaching me about love and how He expects me to look at this person that needs help. To look at this person, because now I was transitioning into the real deal of leadership. The Lord now was training me and raising me into the real deal of leadership. Because before God gives you a big thing, He needs to see you how you do it on a small level. Some of us have very huge assignments. Very huge assignments. The things we go through are a training ground, are a preparation. But during that preparation, for you to get to that level, what do you I'm not a mediocre. I walk on my pace. Now that starts the day my parents got a message about their firstborn. When God orchestrates something, He looks after it. He gives instructions. My background of my lineage, when I look at in my lineage like this, we leaders. But as a leader, is it about getting a title? A leader, you're supposed to be a servant. You're supposed to serve others. A servant and a slave are two different things. A servant serves, and you don't choose who to serve. It might be your idea, it might be your vision, but how do you treat the people you work with? This is not a church. I teach general life in line with the Word of God. Yeah, there are several topics that we attack. I don't drive my classes. That's why many people do not understand. The Lord has trained me in different things. And now I'm here to serve. I'm using what is available at the moment. But at the same time, the Lord is teaching me how to be obedient. The Lord told me things to do in the season. The things I've gone through, if it was not God sending me to do the assignment, I would not be on social media right now. My number would have changed, because that's what people do. The way I have been answered back, the way I've been told, treated. Because when you're on ground, that's not how you're treating each other. That's not how you're treating each other. I have seen you give people time, as much as you say you don't have time. I have seen you how you interact with those who are close to you. That's not how you treat us who are off the ground. And I have seen how you treat your circle that is off the ground. You know, when no one has ever wanted to be told the wrong they do. It takes a man and a woman who is mature in the spirit to accept and say, you know what? I am wrong. Especially if you think you know what you're doing. You find it so offensive when someone comes and tells you that, you know what? Because we have that sense of, I own it. It is mine. It's me who started it. I have seen this. Even old people in age are struggling with it. The ministry is theirs. So you don't tell them how it's done, how they're supposed to do it. I cannot tell someone how to run your ministry. I cannot do that. I never called you into service. I never called you into service. But I want to show you that don't forget you work with people. Which people have feelings. So you need to understand how to use your tools. Your mouth, your ears, your eyes, your hands, your feet, towards other people around you. God calls us into service. God gives us dreams. God gives us visions and other things. But we are co-workers. When you go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. We work with God. Because he cannot come on ground, his power cannot be accommodated on ground. So he decides to sit in us and gives an idea. He's going to bring people on board. And it does not happen the day you start your thing. That thing starts the day you're given birth to. And the Lord starts to build an empire. The Lord starts to bring people on your journey who are going to stand with you. That is what God does. George met a man. Because now George's circle's changed. George's circle changed. And George met a man who had a heart that loves people. George was a rowdy guy. George used to drink alcohol. George was bad. George had a poor relationship with his father. And George was called into missionary work. When you are in missionary work, you need finances, you need people off and on ground. There are people God put there and they're supposed to be your partners. I've seen Pastor Robert do a partner's dinner. He gives back to his partners. And he sits with his partners and lets them know what's going on, what's happening. How do we move from here and there? These are the different projects God is putting on my heart. Then the partners talk to him. They give suggestions. They always have leaders among themselves. And they see, because that is, I've shared him as an example because I've seen him do that. I don't know what others do with their partners that stand with them in ministry. Some have partners that are abroad. And I believe they get time to talk and say hello to their partners. Some get time to travel and they go and visit their partners that stand with them in schools. I pray that the old generation can teach the younger generation how that is done. Because for us in our younger generation, what we do is to use people, and when someone notices the wrong we are doing, then we ignore and we close people out. And because we love people who don't say anything, they just follow. All we want is people to follow us, and your thing goes up when you move in limelight. God is tired of such a lifestyle. You can be in your limelight. You're free to be in your limelight. But as you're doing it, careful the people you step on. People keep quiet, but people are hurting. I may have a one-on-one with different people and people don't know. And people tell me. And I'm like, no, I want you to tell me. You're working with so and so. How many times does that person call you? Do they know what you're going through currently? Or you're being approached when there is a project? What is that called? Your people in the corporate world, what is that called? What is that called? Someone boldly told me some time back, I was asking and I'm like, okay, you guys are telling us things to do. Do you guys have meetings? And if you have meetings, have you involved everyone that is concerned? Because still, even if you have a leadership meeting, you have people who are into leadership but off the ground. Do you involve them? Because they need to know what's happening. Because I'm not a magician. Why we are doing this is to make people have a sense of belonging, an identity of, I also belong to a particular group, I subscribe, and they love me, I'm part of it. I have seen people who have sponsors from abroad. What is funny, we get the partners from abroad, abazungu, and we update them on everything. We don't. You just find, and people are like, we had a board meeting. And you're like, oh, a board meeting. And some of our partners. And you're like, I'm a partner in this. You cannot be working with people when I am just teaching you. The Lord has put different people around. It is for your betterment. That is how God is going to bless you. These are small things we do, and things fail. The devil is making them look like they're very small and they are not important. I have seen people starting good and they fail. And I'm like, what happened? It is because you neglect the little things. You call them little, you don't need to waste time on them. That's where the devil sits. Details are important. When you're doing something, bring the board members, bring the partners, bring the volunteers, inform each one of them, and then have a time with those who are off the ground and those who are on ground, so that you don't look a user. Its intention is to serve people, but you use people to serve. Do you know what they're going through? Even those who are off the ground. Do you know? When I came out and I boldly told people what they were doing that is wrong, people withdrew. Some people blocked me. I used to see their statuses. You know, when you block someone, we block you off the status, then I block you from seeing my pictures. Others are seeing them. I have a bad habit. When someone does something, I approach someone who understands me, and I ask them. And I'm like, do you see so-and-so's picture? They're like, yeah. Do you see their status? They're like, yeah. I'm like, it's okay. And I keep quiet. And I just keep quiet. When we are going through our hard time, we want people to care about us so much. But can you reciprocate it? Can you? Can you reciprocate? I always look and I keep quiet. One thing I found out, we don't want to be told the bad we do. And when we are told, we say it's a waste of time. We say it's a waste of time. For you, what you want is to do your thing and then walk away. The rest is none of your business. Because I was like, Lord, people are telling me to walk away. I have seen people block the numbers they used to use to inform me of different things here and there that I'm part of. People stopped sending me things simply because I woke up and said, I think we are doing things wrong, we are treating people wrong. Some got offended. And I'm like, really? How does that work? How can you get offended simply because I told you the truth you hate to hear? But it's the truth. Because if it wasn't the truth, if you were not guilty, you wouldn't behave like that. I've seen pastors do it. And I'm like, you used to have a blue tick. What happened? Is it because I touched a place you don't want anyone to touch? The month has ended. But how have you treated people next to you? The month has ended. But how have you treated the people next to you? We love the Bible so much, but how have we treated the people next to us? These are simple things that we neglect and look the other side. You see, the reality is very interesting. We've walked a hypocritical lifestyle, and God looks at us, Nagamba. It's so hypocritical that if it's not for God, you can walk out. You can hate. I have seen the devil trying so hard to push me to a wall, and I start hating. But I thank God I am a winner. I thank God. And why I do what I do, you have children and you don't know your time. Anything can happen. Anything can happen at any time, T. Some people thought I'm wasting time. Some pastors thought I'm wasting time. How can you raise someone and they're doing things you don't know? But as I told you, if it was your child, I don't think you would have treated them like that, right? Because you've encouraged us, you've raised us in church, you've mentored us, but how can you sit there and you don't know what's happening in someone's life? Like, I don't understand, I'm sorry. I don't understand. I'm looking at your child at the end of the day. How the seeds you're sowing right now, how would you feel when your child eats them? I've been in a position where I communicate, say hello to people, find out how they are when they are sick, and I'm like, hope someone is learning something. You know, I wake up and I see people post things on their statuses, and in their box, they show me that they are busy, they are not available. And I'm like, this was not like this. What happened? You know how I have to be careful when I'm sharing myself. That lifestyle is not easy, especially when you've worked with people you know and the things you've done with them. That card is one of the hardest cards. Sometimes I sit and I'm like, Lord, why of all assignments you give me this one? Why? How does this even work? But God has been good. God has been very good. I've been able to maneuver through. I've been able to push this far. And I'll continue pushing it higher. I'll continue pushing it higher daily until when my time is done. I'll continue pushing it higher and higher. Stretch it. I'll continue pushing it higher daily. And it hasn't been my own strength, it has been Christ. It has been Christ giving me the grace. So the young man, George, they both agreed, George and his friend both agreed at SKI, as it became affectionately known, would never ask for money, would use only committed Christians, would never go into debt, but would be sustained by faith in God. Now, practicing faith, you can talk about faith, you've told people about faith, but you as a leader, how are your faith levels? You as a leader, how are your faith levels? You as a lead. Because when leaders go back into position, the people they lead, it won't be hard. It won't be hard whatsoever. It won't be hard when it comes to the people you lead. It won't be hard, trust me. It won't be hard whatsoever. It won't be hard. I always picture your children when you're not there. What kind of leadership skills have you taught them? If you're to go right now, are your kids ready to see you go? Are your kids really ready for this world? This world is cruel. Are your kids ready? The seeds you've planted as a man, as a woman, how you speak to people, how you answer back, are your kids ready? Do you think that money you think you're making will sustain these kids? Are your siblings willing to stand in that big gap for your kids? Are you sure? As a pastor, you have a circle of friends. Are you sure your friends are ready to stand in that gap? Are you sure your friends are going to go an extra mile? Are you sure? Because we start by planting seeds. Yeah, your husband has bought land, you guys have built a house. Have you paid off the debt? Have you paid off that debt? Me, I'm not going to come here and I teach you how to speak in tongues. Your pastors are doing that. I don't even know how that works. That is not my area of specialization, teaching you how to speak in tongues. I'm sorry. Your pastor is going to teach you how to speak in tongues. But do you think speaking in tongues is going to bring God down the way you want it? You know, here we just talk about life and it's a general kind of thing. What did I do? I love asking questions. Are we really walking the word? That word we wake up to teach people, are we really walking the word? Those scriptures that we keep posting every day, are we walking the word? Okay. Sorry, I was sharing myself. It's a lot of work, but I've learned to obey. I've learned the art of doing God's work, and you have to obey and do things His way, not our ways. It's not easy. That's one thing I'll tell you. It's not something simple. God asks you to do something and you feel like, Lord, I'm doing this thing, but they don't care. I'm none of their business. I'm not a priority. And God is training you. It's complicated. I don't want to lie to you. It's been very complicated. Others were like, Esther, just walk away. And in my mind, I'm like, what does a watchman do? And I have different assignments because we are not the same. We're different. We do things different. I don't know whether we've mastered the art of how God works when He gives you an assignment. Okay, finished sharing myself. I have seen people, the young generation, how they respect their pastors, their teachers in Sunday school, and how they address them. And I look at some of these kids, how they address other people who are not their teachers or their pastors, how they address people who are older than they are. We have a sense of familiarization. There is, whether you're my pastor or not, whether you're my leader or not, when I'm addressing you, I don't familiarize. There are people I do a casual greeting with, whether in family, whether outside family. I do a casual greeting, right? By the time I do a casual greeting with you, or I call you by your name and I do a casual, there is a casual greeting we get that comes with a disrespect. I have seen the young blood do that, whom I used to teach Sunday school with. And I'm like, and I'm the type who ignores, and I see how they respect their pastors and their other teachers. And I keep quiet and I'm like, Lord, this assignment is getting out of hand. We have not been taught how to love people and respect them the right way. And some are doing that because of what they heard that was said about me, which was never corrected. And they are greeting courtesy for just courtesy, the courtesy thing. And I'm like, Lord, how far are we going to go with this? And we have taught people whom we side with the wrong way of treating people. Because we are always together. You talk. But how are you treating people? And now I want you to single yourself out. I don't do things in a group. I am a type of person. If you're fighting with someone, it's none of my business. I don't wage war simply because you're waging war with someone. I don't do that. I don't do that lifestyle. I don't know how it even works. Yeah, you might be fighting the other person, but when it's my turn to talk to the other person, I don't enter you. I don't get involved in your fight unless you involve me. Several times I've been involved in people's fights and I come in to understand, because I'm not going to fight something because someone is annoyed with you. No. I am going to understand the situation. And I always love talking to the other party you're fighting with. Why? I don't want to fall a victim. I've fallen a victim. I've learned my lessons. I've fallen a victim of people's fight. And they went and forgave each other, right? Then I became the bad one. After today, they've never corrected that mistake. What they did is to play with an ignoring card. When my name is painted black, it led to some people blocking me, and after making things right for them, after helping them understand the situation and understand their own fight, then I was left in the cold when my name is painted black, and it was never corrected. And it led to other people getting annoyed on behalf of the people who are close to them. And I was like, okay. And the Lord is teaching me, is telling me to help His church, the nation, and I'm like, Lord, this is a huge assignment. It's hard to handle human beings that when they make a mistake, they go shy and hide behind their shadow. They play the ignoring card. Lord, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with a community who does not greet back? How do I deal with a community that ignores? How does this work? You did not prepare me for this. But God has been good. We are getting there slowly. It's a journey that if it's not Christ on that journey, you can fall and die. You can fall and die. And I'm good. I am very, very okay. It's not been a roller coaster, but we're good. From the very first, God honored their great step of faith, and without any initial funds and without any advertising, a stream of blessings started to flow, which continued to increase in volume throughout the years. Yet at a time when this great project was launched, George recorded in his journal that he had only 1 shilling 5p in today's currency, or 1/20th of a pound, and furthermore his wife Mary was well advanced in her second pregnancy. Just 2 weeks after the founding of SKI, at a public meeting, Mary presented George with a son. There was only one possible name for him, Elijah. My God is Jah, meaning Jehovah. That's what Elijah means. For this name was one of George's life mottos. The launch of such an institution, the way you've launched your things, this guy, this book, George was alive in 1800s. That is over 109 something years. And you're doing the same thing today. And you're involving people. The devil loves destroying people. And we have gotten to that level that it's so normal. You only care about people when they give you something. You only care about people when they are adding value to your thing. When they are not doing it, it's none of your business. The devil penetrated church, and it's so normal. So if someone comes out and talks about it, we feel like by now we're about to put our. So what we do is to ignore you and walk away. And you're like, you'll deal with it, don't worry. And I'm like, because God has sent many men and women to do particular work, but they can't do it because they are wounded. They can't do it because they're not treated right. They can't do it because they've not cared about them. They can't do it. And that is something we have failed to understand. But I'll do my best. That is simple. That is why I tell you to be very careful with your words. Don't be clumsy with words. Don't open your mouth anyhow. Don't be very clumsy with your words simply because you can talk. Don't be clumsy with words. I want you to think before you speak. That's why God gave you a will, a mind. Don't be clumsy with words. I've tried to explain to people how love is. How someone told me I hear I'm the expert of love. I looked and I'm like, I pray you understand what's going on in the season. Our love is shown when someone does something for us. But we've all failed to show the love of Christ that we talk about. These are simple, small things. Very simple. George and his friend were people's well-being was their concern during crisis and other things. Was their concern. We read great men who write books that you call great, or the generals, because this is a general. This book has generals, but these are called now warriors. I believe you would feel so good when you're called a warrior. I know you would feel so good when they called you a general in something. But what is your lifestyle? What is it that you're leaving your children behind, that they will hold on to when you're gone? What are you known for? We have a positive and a negative. What are you known for? What is it that you're leaving your children with? The way you behave is going to help your kids stand the test of time when it comes, because you have planted the right seeds. What is interesting, the people next to you have there is a way we cover it. Of course, love covers a multitude of sin, but we cannot continue with that like that, because me, I'm after your last days. I am after your final garment. I'm not after your maintenance here. Those who are after your maintenance, that's their part. When you sit in number 6 like this, those who understand the language I use, the last garment is very important. The stains. Not treating people right as stains. Not taking care of people's well-being as stains. People are dying not because they should die, but because we have not loved them enough. There are people who are struggling with sickness, but they would have healed. Why? Because you take time to say hello, and they're like, oh, you care, you really care. I talk with different people, and they're like, I'm here, I'm not doing well. My friends cannot even come to see me, but I'm like, you guys are on ground together. How can someone say they are busy? Like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I am very busy, by the way. I am 8 hours behind Uganda right now. But each one of us has 24 hours, right? But one thing I have seen, you want people to give you their time for you to gain, but you don't want to give back. Time is not money. Time is people's life. You want people to offer their time, to offer their resources for your dream to climb high, for your ministry to go higher, because God uses people. I want you to be careful. You want big things, but you have to have a big heart as a vision bearer, as a leader. If you're not ready to have a big heart, because you're convinced with that small circle, that inner small circle, your inner circle there are other people who are actually bigger than your small circle. Your small circle just understands your whining. But I have not seen your small circle even posting your things. I have not seen. I follow people around. Your small circle cannot even use their status. They say they left Facebook. When you go to their Instagram pages, they cannot put you on their page. The people who are doing that, you don't even know them. You don't even reach out to say hello. You have a team. As a church, it has a media team. If a pastor is busy the other side, the media team should reach out to people. It is a sense when someone, by the way, I always look at people's fans, when you follow people around. I always laugh. But it's what you can do. Your team that you've put there to stand in the gap, right? They should answer back. I always people say, guess what? This other celebrity is following me. That celebrity is not the one following you. The management of their page is the one following you. I've seen very few pastors managing their own accounts. Very few. Very few. I have seen people, there are some churches that have 2 groups, right? And where I am seated and I send things, they're not active. They actually stopped sending anything there. They have another group. Now these ones also love the Lord. They're in the vineyard of the Lord. I greet and they just see me. I go to that group and I see only me posting. Only. And in my mind, I'm like, Esther, you're invading privacy. They have another group. Now it has over 70 messages. Like, I feel like a rebel. Yet God wants his people to know this, because these are his people, with or without their character. These are churches, and these groups have pastors. And I keep quiet and I'm like, Lord, I feel like a rebel here. I sit on groups that have pastors, PhD holders. I sit with people of leadership. Like yoko ground jemuli, muba wakatibwa. Eno season munansonyiwa. Naye empisa zammwe zabambula ebitiibwa abantu bye babaweeyo. I cannot, of course, mention your names. I cannot do that. Nembuuza, what is leadership? Why is it that your private wing and your public wing are different? Then you want people to support your hustles, your dreams, your projects. Then I've gone ahead to ask pastors, when God gave you the assignment, what did he tell you exactly? Because many people have diverted from the real deal. They are doing other things. Bibaletedde ebizibu. What did God tell you to do? Because everyone has an assignment and God has told them to do a particular thing. Then I ask, what exactly did God tell you to do? Why is it that for you as a pastor, you can send me something, but me, I'm not allowed to send you something back, yet you don't say hello to me? You as my leader. Me, I'm a girl who has a personal touch with people. And I'm like, you are the leader. When do you get time? I hear you give testimonies, how you communicate with people. Okay, I think nze simanyiwa babikola. Munansonyiwa. Kirabika mmanyiira. Ako tukayite kamanyiiro ndowooza. Mbamanyiira n'ekisussa. I am so sorry, but yes, it is what it is. He has told me to teach the big, the young and the old. Teyanteeramu nti nno aba 50 tobasindikira, aba 60 tobasindikira, aba 40 tobasindikira, abali bize tobasindikira. Teyakiŋŋamba. Teyanteeramu naŋŋamba abaposo tobaweereza, abapasita tobaweereza. Teyakiŋŋamba, yaŋŋamba basindikire bantu bange naddala Abanayuganda. Many pastors don't know what is going on. They have no clue, but they are seeing things byonoonese. Ne bagamba bannange tukoze tutya, ki ekigenda mu maaso, ebintu babisanga mu mawulire. As I told you, what is surprising, when people die, you're not busy. When people die, you're not busy. It is that mesmerizing. I have seen segwasoso okubeera mu service. I have seen nakugambya mapike. And I saw how it was done. I saw how my dad was actually working. He was a self-employed man. My dad was working. It's Mama who was home. But I saw how he juggled between his personal life with his family, God's work, his wife, his own family. I don't know whether for him he had more than 24 hours in a day. Kati jukira bo back in the day, tebalina masimu, tebalina motoka. Tatange teyalina nakagaali, batambuzanga bigere. He has to go to Kisenya and work. N'avaayo. N'agamba mukyala we nti nomukwano nja kuyitirako ewa maama. N'agenda ewa jjajja. Taata wange yali talya mmere wa maama we, yanywanga chaayi. Ate yagendanga, you're making sure as a must nga alina okujja ne sukaali n'amata. Byabeeranga bisatu: sukaali, amata n'omugaati, as a must. Bw'aba tazze na mugaati, gaabeeranga mata ne sukaali, because maama we n'amata tobaawula. Jjajjange tanywa chaayi mukalu. Ng'etteeka. Oba gye tuli mu holiday oba tetuliiyo, as a must. Tata n'ava awo alina okugenda ku kanisa. During the festive seasons yalidinganga ttiimu y'abazannyi ne yeetikka eŋŋoma kubanga ffe twabeeranga n'ebikola ne tubeera n'eŋŋoma ebisanso kubanga ng'abazannyi the drama group had their own thing nga tulina eŋŋoma zaffe baali baagula eŋŋoma balina ebisanso balina buli kimu nga babitereka waffe mu two-roomed house ne yeetikka eŋŋoma n'agijja najja nankumbi paka Kabowa. Natambulanga naye byankunyumiza tebabinnyumiza. I am a girl who has been in my father's life from the time he married his wife like this. I'm a honeymoon baby. Abaana baba bategeera. Tata nantwala buli wamu. There is a time my mom yamutuza namugamba naye mukwano omwana gw'otambuza bw'otyo kiki n'omutwale wa relative gundi. Tata teyamudamu. He just kept quiet because my dad, I don't think he knew that at this time he would be home nga tatambula nga bamutolerako ku buli kyakola. He was training us to stand the test of time. He was training us. Atakyasobola. He has more girls than boys. He was training us. I have seen kids nga bazadde baabwe bagenze nga n'abantu bakulu nga tebamanyi how to do it, nga tebamanyi how to fight, nga if they are going to fight bagenda kwevuma, bagenda kuwemula, bawemudde basenga baabwe, bawemudde bakojja baabwe, bazze ku bajjajja baabwe ne babavuma ne balwana. In that right now these kids cannot go anywhere. I can go anywhere with the pretentious look that I get from my relatives. But Tata trained us well. Tata teyagamba asenga gundi tanjagala tayogera nange omuganda nange gundi teyakola ekyo. Tata teyaleeta lutalo lwe n'abaganda be n'abarelatives be n'alutukuvu. Every family has, I'm sorry, I'm trying to help you. In case of Fasawa zino, no genda abaana bo, are they trained enough to stand the test of time? Have you loved people enough to be able to stand in the gap when you're gone? And look at your babies who are you. But have you loved people enough that you're going to have friends who are going to stand there? And your friends attend your kid's birthday, your kid's wedding, your kid's graduation, your kid's giving birth. I told you. When my grandfather died, they were raised Kwaisa Bulungi Mbantu. When Jaja died, my dad, Bagamba, he was 8 years. The biggest child, I think, was 13. And the baby who was left in the womb, who came out, nga tamanyi kiri ku nsi, tamanyi kigambo taata. This season abantu bafudde. Abantu bagenze. I have seen my friends die. I have seen my friends die. And leave their babies. Will these babies go to school? Will our so-called friends stand in the gap? Yeah, you've saved money and everything. Money will not call the kid and say hello. That kid might be having chronic diseases. Do they have money? Will they have someone, some of the kids, the girls, who will will be there when they get into their periods for the first time? Who will be there to tell them, Katikola, what, do this and this and this? Who is that person who is willing to go an extra mile among your friends, among your siblings, to stand in the gap? I have examples, live examples of friends I met in school. They've gone through things, and our friends just walk away. They don't have jobs. Our tight circles that take us to parties, they walk away. They cannot even raise 1,000 Ugandan shillings to give it to them. And most of them are girls. They don't have jobs, and they have kids. And our friends are comfortable in their houses. They don't care. Someone boldly told me that we are not going to be able to sustain that person. I looked at him like, am I hearing you right? My friends are sick, has kids. They can't go to school. And I'm like, how do I wake up when this woman dies and I got to give a speech? How do I even do this? How do you guys get guts? I've even given speeches when people are dead, when you've contributed nothing, and you boldly come out and you say you're someone's OG or OB. How does that work? Pastors, tell me. In church, you're in church, and you're working. Recently, I found out a friend of ours died in January, a young man. His mother died, I think, 2014 or 13. And the man stopped coming to church. When the wife died, by the time the wife died, they were no longer so frequenting church this side. They had. Then this man gave birth to 2 kids only, one a girl and the other one was a boy, and the girl was autistic, kind of, and the boy started using drugs because of friends. I found out that he died recently, and their father stopped going to church, and many people don't even know that that man lost also his son. Now he's only left with a daughter who is autistic. And my parents, who used to visit people frequently, they are also down, and many people don't know that my parents can no longer do what they used to do. Some know, but they've ignored it. Life continues. I actually am here, but I know everyone in the old setting, the things they've gone through. People have cut me off. And they are sick, and I don't know how to reach out, so I stay here and I pray. Because I don't understand how I can come and give a speech about a man I worked with many years ago, and now I did not know anything about them, and they are dead, and I come out and I give a speech about them. Yes, you heard that someone is sick, so what? Who is here to listen to your hypocritical stories of how you started with the girl, how you started with the man, how you went to church together, and how people get sick and you're like, we are not here to help everyone, we can't help everyone. How can you release such statements when you yourself, the level you're at, someone stood in the gap? How does that work? I want someone to help me understand this. When you yourself, you feel so good when people stand and support you. Support your vision, support your dream, support your hustle. You make us look like, I've been made to look like I'm insensitive. Like I want attention. And I'm like, no, let's go to reality. Because I'm a girl who has worked with, I ignore things. And I found out there are many people who cannot stand the test of time. I'm like, how can I work with you? And you don't even know where I come from. Then when we die, we start looking, where does so-and-so stay? We look so useless and stupid. And you're so convinced with that small circle of yours. Why are we so selfish to this level? Then we blame it on the big man, the president, that the problems we are having is the one who brings them. And you sit in church and you're so convinced, abusing the president. I have worked with government. I have worked with the opposition. Government is not made up of the president. Government is made up of cabinets. We, the voters, are part of the government. We are part of the government. If government has failed, we have all failed. Why do we allow one person to be slaughtered? The blame game is our game, Africa. Africa, we are doing so bad. God is seated in Africa. He wants to use Africa to change stuff. But we are playing the blame game card, the selfish card. Is the president going to come and teach us how to love one another? You're working right now, but it's about your small family. And yet when you have a business, I don't see your family supporting you. Why do we want one person to go empty? Why is it that we are leaving one man to have a heart? There is a young man in Senegal. He's a football player. He chose to get the money. I think he's in Arsenal. Arsenal took him up. It signed him. I always see you people say, wow, what is it that you learned from that young man? Apart from wowing and posting him, when I look at your lifestyle, you cannot even send 10K to your own brother or your own sister or your own relative. You cannot. But you're busy motivating people. And you make them pay for you to teach them how to put cutlery together. I'm like, guys, don't you think we are selfish? Do you know why your small businesses are not shifting?